I'd like to draw your attention in particular to paragraph 33 on page 15 on policy discussions, which is chapter 5, A, governance and data revisions. And it states discussions on the performance of the economy and options for macroeconomic policy were severely constrained by concerns about the integrity of key macroeconomic data and a series of unresolved governance issues. Despite several requests from mid-2003 onward for information about apparent data inconsistencies, the staff and management were informed, this is the staff and management of IMF, were informed only at end October 2003 that data on fiscal transactions and foreign exchange reserves had been substantially misstated for the period 2001 to 2003. The audited financial statements of the central bank for 2001 and 2002 also became available only at this time. So I would like your reaction to the allegation here that data on fiscal transactions and foreign exchange reserves had been substantially misstated for the period 2001 and 2003, considering that you were the Director of Finance.
Yes, thank you. I mean, the observations are true. And I've already confirmed that in my earlier testimony. It was inconsistent.
Sorry.
Hello?
Can you raise your voice a bit?
Yeah, okay.
Raise your voice.
This is true. There was misstatement. But the misstatement was as a result of the funds that have been taken out of the bank, amounting to 28.5 million by the Office of the President and the Minister of Finance together. Amounting to how many? 28 million US dollars, which is the evidence I had given earlier on. Now, unless someone owned up to that and we pass the entries in our books, there will be that inconsistency. And that was finally resolved, as I said earlier, in the middle of 2003, when government owned up to that and entries were passed. Thank you.
All right. I just want to understand the nature of the inconsistencies, because there is a difference between inconsistency and misstatement.
Yes.
Was there a deliberate attempt on the part of central bank to cover up the fact that 28.5 million had been withdrawn in one way or the other from the central bank?
No, there was no cover-up. Amounts were paid, and they reflected in the final analysis in the control accounts of the reconciliations. So anybody coming in, the auditors will see there is a gap between what we carry in our books in terms of reserve levels and what is reflected in the external bank statements. That was why for 2 years there were no audited accounts finalized.
So why would there be a gap? I mean, there was no doubt as to what had happened to the money. Why didn't the books reflect the situation as it was, that monies were actually being withdrawn on the instructions of the Office of the President?
Now, if you look at transactions, they refer it as to a bridging facility to government. If it is a bridging facility, let the central bank authorities write to the finance department that this is a bridging facility and it should be treated as such. If we have that, then we would do that. We would pass the entries and reflect the actual reserves.
So the entries were not being passed?
The entries were not being passed.
And that's where the gap was?
And that is where the gap was.
Money was being withdrawn, but the entries were not being recorded.
And that would reflect in the reconciliations at the end of the day. Whenever we do reconciliations, it is showing there. Now that remains to be the position until government finally acknowledge its responsibility to use the fund, to accept the liability.
Now, if you turn the page, you will see And the first bullet point referred to the non-delivery of foreign currency that had been purchased from foreign exchange bureaus, reflected undesirable arrangements. The outstanding amounts, which had declined to about $11 million by end June 2003, had been retrospectively classified as loans to the private sector. No interest charges had been applied, but full repayment would be required by end October 2003. I'm just concerned with the implications of what is being stated, that these had been retrospectively classified as loans to the...
As after we have left, or after I have left office, which was on November...
But this was supposed to be a sale transaction.
Yeah, it was a sale transaction, a forward sale.
That money was brought in, was bought. Foreign currency was being purchased by the central bank.
Foreign currency was being purchased by the central bank.
Yes.
Okay.
So, okay.
Yeah. And forex bureaus involved were allowed time to make the purchase from the market because they have to source that from the market locally.
So, while pending payment, how were they being treated? Why would the retrospectivity even arise? You're saying, what are you getting my question?
Yeah, I'm getting the question.
Because they're saying that, well, during the period that this transaction was going on, it doesn't seem to have been treated correctly in the books. But subsequently, they were then classified as loans and treated as such.
Yeah, no. It would be forward purchase. You pay to your suppliers and you debit your foreign currency account into which the funds are expected. Now, the funds would come over time. And at this point in time, there was this much probably outstanding. Now, the conversion to private sector loan, as I said, would have...
Okay, let me ask you a related question, because we've had Mr. Lanconte here, who talked about these transactions with the foreign exchange bureaus. He referred to policies in place at the time. Was there any policy in place guiding these purchase of foreign currency from foreign exchange bureaus?
Now, foreign currency trading, that was under the purview of the Foreign Operations Department. As back office, we would have deals confirmed and posted in our books, waiting for the funds to be paid in our books.
So as far as your department was concerned, what was your role? Did you have any role in relation to this foreign
Yes, we
trading?
have. When foreign currency purchases are concluded, deal tickets are brought to us for posting to our books. We will do the postings, paying the supplier and debiting the foreign currency account into which the funds are expected. Okay? Now, it comes probably piecemeal. Some are able to deliver immediately. But in the submission I have given, in the summary I have given at this point in time when we left, the list of all forex bureaus that had outstanding items there.
This is the 10.583 million.
Yeah, that was the 10.5 million Swiss francs. Yeah, probably amounting to that.
My concern is this: you have on this list the following bureaus: Spotless Trading Limited.
Spotlines.
Is it Spotlines? Spotlines Trading Limited. Who are they?
It was Mr. Carr's. Mr. Carr. Hetty.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Yeah. It was Mr. Carr Hetty.
Mr. Tal.
Carr. The proprietor died.
He died?
Yeah, he died subsequently.
Mr. Carr. Can you spell the...
C-A-R-R.
Mr. Carr?
Yeah.
A Gambian?
Yeah, Gambian, yeah.
What was his first name?
I can't remember. Remember the name.
Global Finance and Assets Management Company.
Yeah.
Who are they?
I can't remember Global Finance, but they were providers. Probably Foreign Department will be able to give you exactly.
They were foreigners?
No, they were local, I think, yes.
Are they in existence? Do you know?
I don't know.
Is it Wechit?
Wechit
Falling Bureau de Change.
Yes. Yeah.
Who are these?
Wechit Falling, you had central bank staff, I think, who were proprietors of that.
Central bank staff?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Who are these central bank staff?
Betty and Biggie.
Betty what?
Sen and Biggie Sise, I think, operated Wechit Falling.
Betty Sen and Biggie?
Yes, Sise.
Biggie?
Sise.
Sise?
Yeah.
They were serving staff at the time?
Yeah, they were serving staff, I think, yeah.
This was permitted? Legitimate?
It would not be legitimate. I don't think so, no.
GAM Investment Brokers?
That was Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah.
Do you know his first name?
No, but we can identify him.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah.
IG Financial Services?
That was Aina George. Aina George.
Aina George. Global Finance and Assets Management Company?
It's
the same.
Yeah, I
Yes.
don't know them. Yeah.
Then which, okay. All right. Boule Financial?
That was Charbel. Charbel.
Charbel. Charbel what?
El Haj.
Do you know what happened to these sums? Do you know whether they were recovered?
I don't know, but they would have been, I think. I don't know.
I'm sure your successor might be able to shed light on this.
Probably, yeah.
You said your successor was
Umi.
Umi Samba.
Yeah.
Very well. If you look at paragraph 35, it also says in that same page 16, it also says the staff also sought more information unsuccessfully about foreign exchange swaps apparently executed by the CBG since June 2002 and about instructions by the government to CBG to lend $5 million to a newly created public enterprise in March 2003 for a 3-dimensional seismic survey of offshore oil deposits. All right. Now, the first part of that, the swaps, what is this about? The foreign exchange swaps.
I would not know what this actually was about, but we remember paying from instructions from the Minister of Finance, $5 million for this payment.
The instructions from Minister of Finance?
From the Minister of Finance, yeah.
So it did what?
To make payment for this 3-dimensional seismic survey for offshore oil company.
Yes, the 3-dimensional assessment survey, I believe we've had evidence that a loan was given to JNPC before this commission of $5 million.
Yeah.
Or JNPC or the institution at the time.
Yeah.
But the first part, that is the foreign exchange swaps, is a new item. And can you shed light on that?
No, I cannot shed light on that. I know payment was made. Because a swap would naturally mean, you're giving me a given currency, I give you another currency which we agree to reverse on a particular date. But this was a direct payment. I don't know where the nomenclature comes from.
Okay. Incidentally, that report does have the exchange of correspondence between the letters that you provided to this commission, and in addition, there are also letters exchanged with the Minister of Finance, who took over from Mr. Famarajata. Yeah. But those are the questions I had on this report. Mr. Chairman, can I have the report? I'll apply since we have to have it admitted. Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted the 2004, May 2004 IMF country report number 04/143. Can you give it? A copy.
To love somebody else.
International Monetary Fund, IMF, country report number 04/143, dated May 2004. Re: the Gambia 2003 Article 4 consultation. Staff report on non-complying disbursements and recommendations for corrective actions. Staff statement, public information notice and press release on the Executive Board discussion and statement by the Executive Directors for the Gambia. Admitted mark MS 127.
Mr. Chair, my last question really on this is, are you aware that the IMF Executive Board in March 2004 demanded the repayment of 10.1 million with accrued interest from the Gambia government, this being disbursements that were made under the third annual poverty reduction and growth facility arrangement?
No.
That were made in 2001.
No, I was not. I had left the office 4 months before.
And this was, of course, because as far as they were concerned, the Gambia had misreported
Yes. Yeah.
its crucial financial information
That's in net foreign reserves, yeah.
during this period.
During that period, yeah.
And therefore the disbursements were disqualified.
Were qualified. They would be.
You are not aware?
No, I was not aware of that.
I'm sure it must have been published though in 2004.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, these are the questions I have for Mr. Cham.
Mr. Cham,
Yeah.
I just have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Just on the back of what you've been asked. I'll start with the FX bureaus. That is, the bureau's been given like a credit, which is in theory what was given, to purchase FX for the bank. Can you tell us, was this a practice that was being done for a period of time? Like, for example, 2 years, 3 years, how long?
You see, the effects of sanctions in a country creep, and they take a long time. Now, this was a period of very dire situations of foreign currency availability in the market. And in the absence of flows into the central bank to build up its reserves, the central bank had to resort to the local market for the purchase, for the acquisition of foreign currency. Okay? Now, we were purchasing from licensed forex bureaus, and they were making their settlements. Now, if you look at what was outstanding as at that time we submitted, most of them had just one outstanding contract, and they would pay that over a period of time. Yes. So those were difficult times.
Okay, yeah, the question was the duration, like how long? Was it 3 years, 4 years,
No,
over a period of how long?
I mean,
About 3 years?
no, I mean, this is just a snapshot, but it is not for 2 years. It would probably have been a year or so. As you could see, all those are very near the time of our termination of services, by the time that was what was outstanding.
Okay, from your explanation, I understand you're saying that it was due to the circumstances that were prevailing at that time. But it is it is not normal, as you would agree with me, that really in banking you don't do that, because what we heard also was that there's no collateral provided, nothing. So if they default, for central bank you have public funds, you can't take that risk. So I understand you can say maybe circumstances, but it just doesn't go together.
Well, we have done it before, and they had settled.
Yeah, but
So
the fact that it was done before does not mean that it's right. That's the point
Nothing
I'm
stays
trying
the same.
to make.
Things change. Yeah, there is a risk inherent in doing that. I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'll move on to the 3M account.
Yeah.
Just going by what we heard the last time, I recalled that based on the evidence given, that you'd mentioned that after the last no updates on the mandate.
There was no
update on the mandate. The reason being, let me explain further. Probably you'll pick up on what I'm saying, because it's from Baba Job, payments from others.
Yeah. Okay.
Which there's no evidence to show that these were signatories to the account.
Only Baba Job who was signatory to the account that was as a result of the overdrawing of this account.
Sorry, I missed. I
only,
just missed that.
Only Baba Job was a signatory to the 3M account at the time of overdrawing. Okay? Now we had instructions from the Minister of Finance, and the governor allowed that. That's right. As the Minister of Finance, yes.
Okay. I know the last time it's been mentioned before. I asked about the thing of why it was not captured.
Why? Yeah.
Why these payments were not captured, which we've heard also today again. You've explained. But for me, I still find it hard, because if the payments have been authorized by the governor, I just do not see why it cannot be captured in the books. There should be no element of that. It's like you're saying government has to take ownership of the debt.
Yeah.
But if it's already been honored, you as banker to government, when I mean you, I mean central bank, not yourself, as banker to government, the payments have gone through. So I really don't see why there was that delayed element of capturing that in the records, because I just cannot understand that.
Yeah, you see, when you have instructions to make payment and charge to suspense account for huge amounts, that is not on. So what I would do is I will make the payment and hold it, because nobody has given instructions as to what actually it is, until subsequently when it was referred to as by the president as a bridging facility from the central bank. Unless and until the governor, the general manager, comes to me and tells me that we have given this facility, I cannot do otherwise.
But yes, but the bank knew that government had no facility with them.
Yeah.
But then payments continued to be honored.
Yeah. Yes.
This is where I'm finding it. It's a bit of a catch-22 situation, because if you say they have no facility, but then also to payments continue to be made from the account, the account continues to be overdrawn.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're liable to the debt.
They are liable to the debt.
So, getting that confirmation, I think this was just, if I call it a textbook thing. It's something that you would have gotten anyway from government in at some point. But it's interesting if you have that delayed to stakeholders, which is what we are also seeing in the records.
Yeah. That was the issue. I agree with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
There's no era in which.
Is that all, counsel, on this witness? Very well, it's time. So that's until Monday. Yeah, we'll rise until Monday at 10 o'clock. Thank you.